All right, so this is the business cycle student work. And again, I would really suggest that you open up the presentation for this. We can open up our work in DocHub. We're looking at the phases, okay? So we want to look at our phases. Here's our phases: peak, contraction, trough, recovery, expansion, and then peak again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we want to list those things off. One of the things you can, I mean, I'm not using a Google, a Chromebook, sorry. So it's a little bit different for me than it is for you. But if you're using a home computer, this is one thing you can do. All right, so what is the business cycle? You want to just list these things out. Now, it wants you to do two things. It wants you to list the phase and then describe them. But we'll start off here. We'll talk about the peak. And I'm just going to fill in the phases first. And then we have contraction. Phase 3 is trough. Now, do you need to have yours in the same order as me? No, not at all. It doesn't matter which way you go. Just as long as you have all of these. Then we have recovery. And then our last phase is expansion. All right, so let's go back up to peak. And we want to look at what is peak. All right. So right here is our answers. So we've got real GDP is at a temporary high. I mean, do I really care if you copy and paste this? Not really. Because this is the work, not the test. All right. So how do I describe this? Real GDP is at a temporary high. What's a contraction? So it's this is the thing. See how this is highlighted? This is talking about a recession. So don't use that as your answer for 2. The answer you want to use is that it's a decrease in real GDP. It's the exact opposite. So real GDP has decreased. Okay, boom. Now a trough, it's a low point in real GDP. So here, a low point in real GDP. And then what's the recovery? It's where GDP begins to rise. And then what is expansion? So this is an increase in real GDP that's beyond recovery. So we've got increase in real GDP that is beyond recovery. All right, boom. So what's the difference between a recession and a depression? All right, so this is what a recession is. It's here on a contraction. So a recession occurs when real GDP falls for 2 consecutive quarters, for 6 months in a row. Okay. So I don't have check marks. Why is that on there? All right, there we go. And a depression is it's sudden dramatic decrease in real GDP. So a depression is a sudden dramatic decrease in real GDP, where a recession is 2 consecutive, and that's important. Okay, it has to be consecutive. It has to be 3-month period to 3-month period back to back. So is where a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of decrease of a decrease. I'll just go decrease in real GDP. So recession is slow. Depression is fast. It's also precipitous. Okay. So like, for example, this is a contraction. Okay. Where if you were to look at, I don't think I have it on here. If you were to look at the Great Depression, it would go boom, drops right to the floor. It's huge, very dramatic. Okay. All right. So question 7. In which phase of the business cycle do you think that the economy would be most likely to experience inflation? Well, you could guess, or you can also just look at these. Okay, these are the leading indicators. Okay, and it's going to tell you things like what happens. So for this one, inflation is most likely going to occur during the expansion phase. Okay. And the reason why is because if you look back to what you've learned in other things, like money supply goes up or price and quantity. So here we're going to have inflation. Inflation would most likely occur here. And the reason why is because real GDP is also expanding at the same time. All right. 8. In which phase of the business cycle do you think the recovery would most likely experience high unemployment? Okay. So when do you think you would see the unemployment begin? And that would be here. When you've gone from the peak of your business cycle, because now people are going to be getting laid off. So high levels of unemployment would most likely occur during the contraction phase. And it kind of makes sense because prices are going to be dropping. Businesses are going to be making less money. There's going to be more uncertainty, and since they can't really control the price of the goods that they're paying for to make their goods, and they can't really control the price that they're selling their goods, they have to make a decision. And the realm of this that they can make changes to is how many people they employ. All right, 9. Which type of economic indicator would be most helpful in predicting changes in economic conditions? So it's kind of like when you're getting sick, okay? Like what are the things that like are an indicator before it actually happens? And that's the leading indicator, okay? So leading indicators they precede economic upturns and downturns. So these things don't, like, you don't just boom have a depression, and you don't just boom fall into a recession or have a huge recovery. There's things that are happening. So when unemployment is increasing, this is an indication that a recession is going to happen. Like right now, we've gone from 3% unemployment to over 14%. If this is what's going to continue for the next quarter, because we've already had it for one quarter, decline real GDP, that's 3 months. If the next 3 months follow suit, then we would officially be in a recession. What are some examples of types of economic indicators that you identify in question 9? Okay. So this is things like rate of unemployment or employment, stock prices, the money supply, consumer expectations. Where am I getting these? Right here. Wait, is that where it is? I have these listed someplace. And then I just go with and etc. There's a whole list of things. There's more than just this. This is also found in the textbook. All right, causes. Different economists identify different causes of a business cycle. These causes may affect the expansion phase of the business cycle when real GDP is increasing and the contraction phase of the business cycle when real GDP is declining, or both the contraction and expansion phases. So it says, based on the above information, respond to question 11. So we're looking for causes, okay? So our causes, here we have 5 causes, okay? So we're going to put those in there. So we've got money supply. We have business and spending. Might want to make that a little bit smaller though. Okay. We have politics. We have innovation. And we have the supply shocks. Ooh. Gotta love our good friend. Oh, there, that works. All right, so now we're looking at how it leads to expansion and how it leads to contraction. Okay, so if you increase the money supply or decrease it, that's what they're talking about, okay? So an increase in the money supply means people can buy more goods and services, leading to an economic expansion. Which makes sense, right? If you have more money to spend, you're going to spend it. And you have more money to spend in this particular case because the money supply has been increased because the Federal Reserve has increased its availability. Now they can do that through loans, remember interest rates, things like that. So this is the exact opposite. So a decrease it means that means that people buy less or fewer, and then this leads to economic contraction. And then this would also result in another indicator, which is unemployment, right? If people are buying fewer goods and services, this means that suppliers have less to replenish on stock or in stock. And so if you're not replenishing the stuff, that means you don't need the people to make the stuff, so you let them go. All right, business investment, residential construction, and government spending. How are these things leading indicators? When these factors, or when these causes are spending, right? This increases aggregate demand. And this results in higher employment. And that in turn creates further spending. And then this is just the opposite of it. Okay. So when these causes, and by causes I mean business investment, residential construction, and government spending, decrease spending, this decreases aggregate demand, and then the results of this are higher unemployment and decreased spending. People who don't have jobs don't buy things. All right, politics. Okay, so how does it lead to expansion? So Congress, they can pass legislation that increases spending. Which leads to higher employment and a greater chance for the politicians to get reelected. And then how does this lead to contraction? Congress can cut spending. Which leads to higher unemployment and greater chance for contraction. Now they can still get reelected though, based on this, because like if the spending is viewed by some people in the public as being wasteful, and this is based on Republicans or Democratic viewpoints, that can get you or cost you votes. All right, innovation. So, so this cause. Oops. There it goes. So this cause leads to increased production. And it requires spending or investment. And this leads to economic growth / expansion. So if, like, let's say you're a company, right? And you want to replace your cashiers with automatic machines that you like scan, right? You have to invest, meaning you have to buy those scanners. But once those scanners, which is a fixed cost, are put into place, you don't have to continue to pay for your workforce anymore, because you can either assign them to other duties or you can let them go. So how does it lead to a contraction? And that is that over time, what's going on? An annotation could not be created because of, all right. So let's try it this way. Oh, I see. I clicked on a button. We want text. All right. So we have investment, spending, because that's what this is. It tends to slow with time, and this leads to economic contraction. It's kind of like, it's not too hard to explain, but like if you're a business, right, and the newest operating systems come up for Windows, do you buy it? You don't really need to. I mean, you can wait. So these things, they tend to lag behind, and as a result of that lag, it creates economic contraction. Then we have supply shocks. So supply shocks always lead to the same thing, and that is they lead to economic contraction. And the reason why is because they're not expected. So some examples of this are like war, and then like shortages, like say toilet paper and other things, of necessary resources. So it's food, medicine, all that stuff. It reduces the productive capacity of an economy. And then as a result, the economy contracts. And that's what we're experiencing right now. We have a supply shock because of COVID-19. And you don't have to do question 12. So here's that, okay? Make sure you, again, click download, click Google Drive, export. All right. Now we come over here again to Classroom. Remember, this is going to be blank right now. If I refresh my page, the work should be there, and it is. Remember, if you're still having problems, you can still, oops, not that button. You can click download it to your computer. It's going to come down right here. You click add or create, and this is going to be a file. Just drag that into there. And you upload it. Click it once it's uploaded to make sure that the information is there as you want it. And it is. is, and then you click turn in. So you should be good with your work up to the business cycle. You can check this by go to classwork, view your work, and then see what's due today. So due today, inflation, chapter 12 test. So it's assigned, but I haven't got it done yet. And these are my assignments that are done, turned back in, and here's some of my missing work. Okay? So keep going, guys. Good work.